Okay, guys, so we're back with another vinyl video, going through some old records.
And we've obviously slept in our clothes.
Yeah, this is the only sweater I have.
Yeah.
So we left off with Buffalo Springfield.
Yes.
We're going alphabetically through your collection. So the first one today is...
Well, actually, it's not my collection. You stole it. It's your collection,
Well,
and you're showing me my own collection.
yes, that's true. That is true. So the first one is the Byrds' "Sweetheart of the Rodeo."
Ah, great one. Yeah, they sort of went full on country folk thing.
Yeah.
Big influence on me at the time. An interesting one because it's about the time, well, it was on the influence of this record that Daniel Amos sort of started out doing, country folkish type things.
Right.
And I think, fortunately or unfortunately, however you look at it, because at the time I was sort of being influenced by this, but I had in my mind the complete Byrds story, which was, electric folk rock,
Right.
the whole thing, rock and roll.
Yeah.
Daniel Amos started just trying to do simple stuff, and so we rapidly became in demand as far as playing and that sort of thing. And so we were, I'm right in the middle of my fixation with this kind of music, and suddenly we're recording a record and we're doing this type of thing.
Yeah.
And I'd always seen Daniel Amos as a band that would do all kinds of music, eclectic, as they say, overused word, but nevertheless, that was the idea. And so from the beginning, I sort of wanted to break out of that sort of confining genre.
Yeah.
And we just got established in the minds of a lot of listeners as we're a country band. Right. Although even the first record, I've said this before, but even the first record has some things that are outside of that genre.
Yeah, it does.
And we're able to start kicking down the walls a little bit with Shotgun Angel, and then went on from there. But yeah, this is it's one of my favorites, and I think that I've performed the Christian Life.
And you guys did, the Dogs did I Am a Pilgrim.
Oh yeah, well a lot of people have done I Am
I
a
mean, I know
Pilgrim.
it's a traditional
Song. Yeah, it's a good one.
All right, so this next one was not originally yours, but we picked it up at a Goodwill not that long ago. It's still sealed. It's Christmas with Glenn
Campbell, whoever that is.
Some guy, but
trying to cash in on the Glenn Campbell thing.
Yeah, I've never heard this. I don't know if you've ever heard this.
I don't believe I have. I have a feeling it's great, because Glenn, God rest his soul, is one of my favorite people in the world.
Yeah.
We used to watch the summer show when you first saw Glenn, and picked up later that he's one of the most incredibly amazing guitar players.
Yeah.
And just effortless.
Right.
Always a hero to me in that regard. Very tasty and that whole thing. And of course, he went on to do some monster hits. And probably my top 5 songs of all time is Jimmy Webb's Wichita Lineman.
Wichita Lineman, yeah.
I could hear it any time. It's just got that haunting melody and just really taps something deep inside me every time I hear it. But Yeah, Glenn was a member of the Wrecking Crew. He was one of the first guys to participate in that. And that's how Wrecking Crew obviously played on Beach Boys' Pet Sounds.
Right.
And I
So
think
he's
that's,
on that then? As a member of them?
he's not on Pet Sounds,
Oh, okay.
but I don't believe he is. He could be.
I wonder.
Yeah, Beach Boy fans are going to inundate me with, how couldn't you know that? But I'm sure that was the hookup with he had to be
I don't know. Yeah.
with Brian,
Oh, right.
because Glenn eventually, when Brian dropped out, when he had his breakdown on the airplane
Yeah.
and said he wanted to stay home and just do studio work and the rest of the boys could go out and do the touring, he was going to start doing. They put Glenn in his place.
Oh, see, I didn't even know that.
And Glenn sort of looked like Brian, so I don't think anybody even.
From 40 rows back, maybe people thought
Yeah,
it was still
yeah,
Brown Wheels.
sort of a look-alike in some ways.
That's true, I can see that.
And so, yeah. But I saw Glenn. The only time I saw Glenn in concert was at the Orange County Fairgrounds.
Yeah.
In the days when you paid admission to the fair and you went to the concert free.
No, just free, yeah.
And I'll tell you, that was a deal because I saw little Anthony and the Imperials. I saw Glenn Campbell. I saw the Everly Brothers there. I saw Roy Orbison there,
Whoa.
which was one of the greatest concerts I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's
And what was great about that show was that, it was packed out, but there were young people in the audience that I don't know had ever heard of Roy
It
or
was
knew
just a
something
free
about
show
him. Yeah,
sort of thing.
yeah, free show.
Yeah.
And he got a standing ovation every song he sang.
Really?
And what was great, I'm getting off on a Roy Orbison's tantrum here, but what was great about Roy that I always really appreciated, because Gene Andrusco, had gone down to see Steppenwolf, the new version of Steppenwolf,
Yeah.
John Kay.
Mm-hmm.
But it was kind of him and then these guys that he got behind him, right?
Yeah.
And so it wasn't really Steppenwolf. So he did his hits. Well, he found the need to, he's thinking in his mind, he needs to, capture the young people.
Right.
And so he had some long-haired guy playing the guitar that, that was doing all the, the moves and the faces and stuff, and playing these licks that weren't part of the original song, but
Like just to be a virtuoso.
and Kay thinking, oh, we need to beef these things
Yeah,
up
yeah.
with the modern sound, and it was just horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the stuff, John Kay sounded great.
Yeah.
And the old hits still stood up despite the antics, but the new stuff was horrendous. But Roy respected the listener,
Right.
and I think preferred it himself to just duplicate what he'd already done.
Yeah.
He didn't need some young long-haired guy up there playing Les Paul and
The
beefing
whole,
it.
like, the solo hurts
Yeah.
kind of thing.
But Glenn played at that same stage, and he just never hit a false note.
Yeah.
Just it was a beautiful voice and a real loss, I think. Yeah, a real loss.
This is probably, again, neither of us have heard this, but it has to be good.
Oh yeah,
And good choices of Christmas songs that he's doing on it, too.
yeah, it is good.
Okay, so the next one we just talked about the other day when we were at my place. The underrated Cheap Trick.
Oh, yeah.
Dream Police. Now this is a promotional not for sale copy, Dad. How'd you swing that?
Well, called in a few favors. When you've been in the biz like I have, people snap your fingers. Yeah, Cheap Trick. What can I say? Beatle freaks, basically. And love the first, especially the first Cheap Trick record. That was great. And then Live at Budokan was huge for
Yeah,
them.
that's still for a live record, it's one of like the best, sounding.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah. And they're still doing it. The only guy missing now is Bunny Carlos.
Oh, I love Bunny.
My favorite.
Bunny E.
Bunny E. Carlos, one of my favorite drummers of all time.
The weirdest persona. Like,
Yeah.
Just a.
Well, I was always intrigued by the two, pretty boys.
Right. And then
Juxtaposed to the two kind of clownish.
Rick Nielsen. And,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. And their artwork, that's what we were talking about the other day. Every album cover or something is just this kind of like weird. Same thing. If you'd never heard of them, you'd be like, what is this?
Right.
Like even that right there. It's just.
But I think Cheap Trick, is pretty respected across the spectrum of music lovers.
That's true.
They sort of have.
But still, I kind of just never really hear about them in general or being on like lists of great records and stuff. But they should be. Something.
Oh yeah, yeah. A fun band.
Yeah.
Great lead singer.
Is that Robin Zander? The
It
singer?
is.
Yeah. Okay, so this one, now this is a cool package. It's pretty beat up now, but it's Donovan, a gift from a flower to a garden.
Oh my gosh.
So then so the whole thing is that it's this
Oh.
huge box, and again, it's all beat up, but it's the double LP.
I love
Opens up, so there's those, and then it has
Yep.
this super cool.
Now, this is just an illustration of back in the day when stuff went. And I'm going to sound like a dinosaur, but when stuff went to CD and was shrunk down to this level.
Yeah.
One of the great things, they still do it on cereal boxes, to some extent, where you used to have little comics on there or whatever,
Yeah.
and you would eat your cereal and be looking at the thing, or there'd be a toy inside or whatever. The great thing about albums was that they just had all this space. You do these great things where you could get into an artist. There would be more pictures. So you'd be looking at these pictures and liner notes and then little special surprises. And I loved this. This is one of my favorite things. This is a lyrics. And they're illustrated, and they're on different pages.
Almost like little kind of like woodcut type of looking art, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was very, hippie-ish kind of approach. The, Donovan, the guru kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I fell in love with the song "Wear Your Love Like Heaven,"
Yeah.
and so I went and saw. I don't know if it was Winterland or where, but saw Donovan in concert, and he had his microphone stand with flowers. He came out in this kind of flowing robe that he's wearing here,
Yeah.
and was great. I loved it. But this particular record I loved because what he did is he did a double record with sort of a full band kind of stuff.
Yeah, it wasn't just kind of like folky
Yeah.
singer-songwriter. I mean, still, but a full band.
But then he did the second record that's in here is all just him and a guitar, folkish.
Yeah.
I think there's some additional instrumentation, but it really does take you away. It really he was a good picture painter, as far as his tunes go. And I listened to this record for hours. One of my favorites. A great package. One of the best packages ever.
Yeah, it's really cool. And even now with how, there's lots of cool things coming out with the kind of resurgence of vinyl and stuff, but this kind of thing is still relatively rare. Like a box with like stuff in it. There is that, but still, it's not as common as you'd think it would be now.
Yeah, you could just kind of lose yourself in a record. I used to get my folks would usually get me, the new Beatle record or whatever.
Yeah.
At Christmas time, and just having that full illustrated, or the photography, the liner notes, the lyrics. That's what I wanted to get to when I was a kid. There's all the Christmas stuff, but that record was. I was just chomping at the bit to get it. You know, Christmas is sort of over in the morning, and everybody does whatever they do, and I'd
Get to the
ran
record.
my
Yeah.
record into my bedroom, and I was in there for hours
Yeah.
just taking it in,
Studying
musically,
it.
visually, you know.
Well, that's what it is too. It's like it's just additional art to the art of the music, but then having like visuals and just so. That's kind of part of the aesthetic of records. I think appeals to so many people.
Well,
now, too.
I think that it saddens me somewhat that younger music listeners, I don't think in general have that experience.
Yeah.
It was unique for that time where you were just incredibly excited about an artist,
Right.
and you wanted to get fully in. It wasn't just an individual track or a hit that you heard
Yeah.
in passing. You wanted to hear the whole work. You wanted to absorb it and live with it. And I was always excited because, especially with Beatle records, the stuff that came after the simple love song type
Right.
things. Even though I Want to Hold Your Hand was sort of strange when you first heard it. But I was always in a place of, I think I like this.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
This is new to me. It's the first time I'm hearing something like this on record.
Right.
And when you have that, you're a little confused.
Yeah.
And then you sort of settle in, and that's the stuff that stays with me, the
Right.
stuff that grows on me.
Yeah. Repeated listening.
Yeah,
And
and
getting into
appreciation of what's going on.
I think Donovan is a good example of that kind of thing for sure.
Yeah,
Kind of,
yeah,
You know.
yeah.
Okay, so there's one, or well, the last one for this time, and again, there's an entire pile to go, but this is Nashville Skyline, Bob Dylan,
Yeah.
with the nothing on the cover but Bob, and I love this record very much.
Yeah, well, this is a record where people sort of generally went, see, Bob can really sing if he wants to.
Yeah, what was it? He stopped smoking for a while, and then Lay Lady Lay sounds kind of not.
Yeah,
like
and he
him.
kind of
I
was,
love
you know,
that.
was like a crooner
Yeah.
on this thing a little bit. He had this, he didn't have all the Bob Dylan-esque
Yeah.
sorts of things that you expect that he
Right.
would have, and I think my mom, who couldn't stand Dylan, you
Yep.
know, I always had to explain to her, you know, I said, well, you may not, you know, it's okay if you don't like what he does, but you need to appreciate the fact of how significantly he changed the musical landscape,
Right.
especially lyrically.
Yeah.
How he had an impact and influence on even today what we have is
Oh, yeah.
you know, modern writing, in that he took us out of the boy loves the girl loves the boy,
Right.
love songs, breakup songs, you know, 16 Candles or whatever,
Yeah.
and took us into something more sophisticated, more adult,
That's a good
which
point.
influenced the Beatles and, you know, I mean, I'm not going to do a whole thing on Bob Dylan.
Well, it's
but-
also how many people covered his songs and made them their own. You know, Birds, Jimi Hendrix,
Right.
like everyone did
Yeah.
Animals versions of his songs.
And even my mom loved Lay Lady Lay,
Yeah.
although it was a little naughty. But yeah, I think her reaction was, "That's Bob Dylan," you know?
I can hear what he's saying.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course, there's the song on there where it's him with Johnny Cash,
Oh,
the duet.
I'd forgotten about that. I haven't heard this record in a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, guess that's it for now.
Did we end sort of on a downer? Wasn't that interesting?
Yeah, it's all right.
I mean,
It's Bob Dylan.
can't tell a story about how I met Bob. Or... I think he has my same birthday, right? Isn't he
Yeah, I
May
think so.
24th?
I think so.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Well, next time we'll get more into the pile, as they say. No one says that.
No, I never heard anybody.
All right. Well, thanks, guys.